Right, let's cross to America, crane our necks towards those two ex-lovebirds. Elon Musk and Donald Trump are feuding again, or as the Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez put it,
oh man, the girls are fighting, aren't they?
AOC they are. Elon Musk took to X to criticise the president's big, beautiful bill, which would raise the debt ceiling in the US by $5 trillion. Trump then said he would take a look at deporting Musk.
I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look. We might have to put DOGE on Elon. You know what DOGE is? DOGE is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? He gets a lot of subsidies, Peter.
Just in case you can't hear that, it is a difficult clip. It's underneath a helicopter. DOGE is the monster that might have to come back to eat Elon. He's also issued, this is Donald Trump, another more menacing comment.
Elon Musk. Nothing, he's upset that he's losing his EV mandate, and he's very upset about things, but he could lose a lot more than that. I can tell you right now. Hey, Elon can lose a lot more than that.
Well, sometimes in the past I've had earwax build up in my ears and it's gone now. The big, beautiful bill passed in the Senate yesterday with a tie break from Vice President J.D. Vance. Let's talk to Daniel Lippman, Politico's White House and Washington reporter. A very good afternoon from us. What exactly is in the big, beautiful bill? What goes on to the statute book now?
So what's in this big, beautiful bill is a extension of the tax cuts that passed in 2017 during the first Trump administration that primarily helped out the wealthiest of Americans. This one added some no taxes on tips and overtime as kind of a populist measure, but it also busts the deficit and debt by trillions of dollars. And it would cut a lot of money for Medicaid, which is the government healthcare program for poor Americans. It would cut that by almost $1 trillion. And so that's leading a lot of Republicans to be wary of this type of bill because they don't want their constituents to get hurt and for them to get punished by those voters in the midterm elections.
And in terms of the process of the bill, what happens now?
So right now it's under consideration by the House of Representatives. And so they will either pass the Senate version or they will alter it a little bit so that it can get enough House votes to pass. But then it would have to go back to the Senate to pass that version. And so because you have to have both chambers pass the exact same version for the president to sign it. And so they had been hoping to do this by July 4th. But we don't know if that's a realistic timeline. It may slip until after the holiday.
In your opinion, if it does pass, does it change something in America fundamentally?
Well, in the last several Republican administrations, they have done this type of bill in terms of cutting taxes for the wealthy. So a lot of the donor class. This would add on a lot of debt because they're not actually cutting enough spending to make up for that. And a lot of Republicans have said, oh, if you cut taxes on the rich, then we'll get more economic growth. And so we'll get more tax revenue. But the problem is that has not proved to be the case before. And as we've seen, the America as the reserve currency, the dollar is at historic, at very low numbers for the last few decades. And so there's a concern that can America keep on taking all of this debt? Right now we can, but if there is a debt crisis in the next 10, 20 years, then people are going to look back to this moment and say, hey, maybe this was not the best idea in terms of just keeping the borrowing machine going at full throttle.
So it's become this extraordinary tug of war between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. On Monday, Musk promised that politicians who campaigned on cutting spending but backed the bill, and this is his direct quote, will lose their primary next year if it's the last thing I do on this earth. What could he do if he followed through on that threat?
So when you have $350 billion, $250 million or 277 that he used to elect Trump, that's a pittance. And so he can back primary challenges to these politicians. He can help Democrats who are trying to unseat those House Republicans who are voting for this bill, or senators. And so he has a lot of tools in his toolkit to do that. He has talked about starting a third party, but the America Party, but that is going to be very difficult and unrealistic. And so I think Democrats are maybe going to try to get some of his campaign cash, even though they hated what he did with DOGE in terms of taking out big parts of the U.S. government. But they are happy that he is now on their side again, and in terms of those solar and wind power efforts that he has been against, in terms of them cutting. He is on the side of Joe Biden and trying to protect that legacy, but also those tax credits for electric vehicles that Tesla has been using as well. But we'll have to see if he pays a price from Trump in terms of those multi-billion-dollar contracts that the U.S. government has with SpaceX and Starlink.
Yeah, and obviously Donald Trump is threatening to take away all of those kind of things. He's also said our country would save a fortune if we got rid of the rocket launchers, the satellites, the EV production. Perhaps we should have DOGE take a good hard look at this. Big money to be saved. And then he has said maybe Elon should close up shop and head back home to South Africa. Now, we've all leapt on this as Donald Trump threatening to deport Elon Musk. But is it conceivable that he ever could?
Well, what they could try to do is prove that he came in on a student visa, and then he actually illegally started to work as on that student visa without converting it to a work visa. This was early on in his career when he was first coming to the country. And so the New York, I think there was the New York Times that did a big story about that, or the Washington Post, I forget, a few months ago. And so they could revive that issue and say, hey, this is someone who broke the law and should not be in this country anymore. And so there are Republicans who are counseling Trump, hey, ease up on the Elon Musk criticism. But Trump doesn't want to listen to that once as Elon has ramped up his feud again. So sometimes they patch things up, but now Elon Musk is back criticizing Trump and the policies he's working on. And so we'll have to see if there becomes another peace deal between the two warring factions.
But also, Tony, I mean, from what we've seen of the pair so far, I mean, a bunch of thin-skinned muppets could be one interpretation of their actions. But actually, they don't respond well to threats from the other, do they? So the worst thing that President Trump could do would be to try and remove Elon Musk. It would fire him up to just be an even bigger enemy from South Africa, abroad, anywhere that Donald Trump tried to get him to go. It would just make it so much worse, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. But so that's why I think that when Trump talks about getting rid of those billions of dollars of contracts that Elon Musk's companies get, the problem is that that all sounds great in theory, but NASA, if you want to have a space program, they don't have the capability or the technology that SpaceX has in terms of a cost-efficient basis to launch satellites and the intelligence programs. They need their own satellites. And so there is no real alternative to SpaceX. And so that is something that Trump is going to be hitting up against if he tries to cancel those contracts. And so if he tries to do that, then he will face more of the full brunt force of what Musk is planning to do or thinking about doing in terms of a response. And so they're both just saying lots of stuff, but we haven't seen actual actions as much in terms of actually hurting the other person.
Well, it keeps us all entertained, but it's actually so serious underneath. Thank you very much indeed for explaining all of that. Daniel Lippman is White House and Washington reporter for Politico.